friends, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my thoughts on Baldur's Gate, Act 1. So, if you see these kind of videos from me and want to see more, I do try to do a couple of video game recs or video game related videos every now and again. But if you want to see more of them, let me know in the comments down below. If you want to see more from me, hit like, subscribe, and comment. You know, the usual. But let's just kind of hop right into it. So I'll be breaking this up into separate sections. One is the plot, obviously big one. Next one are the characters, whether or not I like the characters so far, which ones are my favorites. Then I'm gonna jump into kind of the mechanics of the game. Not too deep into it, because it is turn-based, but I do play most of my video games on mobile gaming, so I either my Switch or my Steam Deck, and right now I'm playing it on my Steam Deck. Very rarely do I ever play on the PS5 or a PC. Playability, whether or not you can come into this as a new D&D player or a current D&D player and not feel completely lost with any shifts or change the game might have made to make this more playable on a video game spectrum and not a physical tabletop roleplay game. Then, of course, my overall thoughts and whether or not I'd recommend the game as of where I am right now. A couple housekeeping things before I get into it. One, I am playing this with my husband, and he has played Baldur's Gate like I think 3 or 4 times now. So I do mention in the review that there are certain things that I don't really have to look for because I have my husband as a resource. Starting off with the plot. So let's talk about the plot so far. Then I will jump into my hopes and fears with the story. Very loose spoilers. This will have very loose spoilers for y'all. I try to keep most of the spoilers very vague. So if you haven't played it yet, you'll know. Act 1 ends kind of around the time that the Githyanki quote-unquote rebellion begins. So far, I'm really enjoying the plot. I think it does follow the beats of an RPG, where most of the time you are just a victim trying to win this game and not doing such a great job of it, while also giving you kind of that D&D feel with the different choices you can do to kind of further your quest along. Either you choose A or B, or hidden option C, or you choose B and then you can go back to A. This is also something I'm going to point out. I think I'm very spoiled in the regard that, like I said in the beginning, my husband has played Baldur's Gate at least like 3 or 4 times now. I think he's on his 4th run separate from me, but 3 or 4 times now, so I never really have to worry about keeping track of the plot very much. He is the one who will typically lead us into major fights or lead me to the next cutscene, and he kind of just lets me handle all of the discussions and the major decision making during the cutscenes, or picking up weapons and trying on weapons and whatnot. But in terms of having to follow the map, I'm very spoiled in that regard, so I can't really tell you specifically whether or not the plot is contingent on the map or how easy it is to follow the plot via map. I think the plot also gives way for the characters to shine on their own. Each character has their own little subplot that kind of does tie in and build up into the main plot of the game, and I feel like there is a chance for you to be able to get to know the characters on their own without really sacrificing the main plot or losing out on the plot. However, there are certain plots that I'm not super invested in. My husband mentioned it already that some of this will pop up later, but as of right now I'm just kind of like, you're no fun. One of them is the Duke of Ravengard plotline. I know we haven't met him, and all we have is heard of him from Will and from the other kind of guards of Baldur's Gate. I get that we're building up into it and it's gonna get there eventually, but I just feel like I just don't have a connection. Maybe it's because I don't have a connection with Will, and so the plot doesn't really expand in that sense, but I feel like I just am not vibing with this plotline, and I'd rather invest my time in the other major plotlines, like the Githyanki rebellion, where you are asked to take down a literal god. Mild spoiler, sorry, but maybe that's just because of my bitter ex-Catholicness, and it just, anything about taking down a god sounds very interesting to me. Not in a disrespectful manner, but in a how are they going to do it in a plotline kind of manner. And then I think second to that, Karlach's actual own storyline with herself is very interesting to me. I like Karlach's kind of plot. I think she's a very tragic character, and I'll get into that in this next bit, which are the characters. So you are released to a cast of different characters. I think you'll meet more. There's another one I haven't met yet. You get Manthara, which you'll meet later, or you'll have the chance to include in your party later. Shadowheart, Karlach, Will, Blazel, Gale, Astarion. Oddly enough, I am not an Astarion girly. Shocker, I know. I feel like everyone's an Astarion girly. You would think because I have this deep, unending, bottomless love for vampires, I would be an Astarion girly, but I am not an Astarion girly. Some things don't change. I've been at this for 8 years now, and there's always without a doubt this cat screaming whenever I'm on the camera. But he just didn't stand out to me when I first met him. Something, I don't know. I would typically enjoy the vampire storyline because vampires? However, something about his storyline just did not impress me at all. He wasn't a very impressive like character to me when I first met him. Can you stop it? And none of the other boys' storylines really meshed with me. I didn't feel particularly tugged toward their plights of like simping really hard and getting in trouble to other things I don't really know about. None of the boys' plots really interested me. I really enjoyed more of the girls' like plot lines. Like I loved Shadowheart's like kind of mysterious like religious goth emo situation here. Then we have Lae'zel's plotline with like unlearning all the things she learned with the Yankees. And then you have who I think is a very who's one of my there's more tragic characters, but I think her storyline is very tragic in the sense of like how it's unfolding so far. Of course, there are more tragic ones. Don't come in the comments and be like, well, actually, I'm aware. I personally just think that her story is tragic to me. I just think Karlach's storyline is very intriguing to me, and I really am enjoying getting to know her as a character. Like at the beginning, I was very Shadowheart. Like even before the game started, I was like, I'm gonna fall in love with Shadowheart if I ever play this game. Shadowheart, Shadowheart, Shadowheart. And then we met Karlach during her intro scene, and it was like love at first sight. And I just have not looked back ever since. We thought I was gonna go for Minthara. After there's another goth emo girl that's gonna pop up later. Something about Karlach and her personality and her storyline just really calls to me, and I probably will be following Karlach to the very end of this game. Moving on to the playability, as I said, I do play this on my Steam Deck, but because I play on the Steam Deck, there are some things that you should always consider before playing it, especially if you're going to play on the Steam Deck. One, is it verified? Are you able to actually play without losing out on some functionality? And if you are losing out on some functionality, are you willing to lose out on that functionality, or is it just going to be like make or break the game for you? I have never played this game on a PC or PS5, solely just a Steam Deck. So if you're asking for how to do X, Y, and Z, or if you're trying to figure out the mechanics of it, I probably cannot help you. I think there is a teeny bit of a learning curve when it comes to playing on the deck. So it took me and my husband a little bit of learning to figure out which buttons did what, and which triggers pulled up what menu. But once you get the hang of it, I think it's a pretty easy enough interface to use. I don't have any issues with it now that I'm like about a third of the way through the game. This game also just solidified that I'm a very big portable game player. I think that because of, like I said, how I sit like a little gremlin. Like my knees are up here, and it just causes a lot of strain on my back. So I learned that I'm a very big portable gamer because I can just relax. It was very nice to be able to kind of know that this game transfers very well into the portable aspect of it. And second and last thing is the playability. Whether or not you're able to play this well as a new D&D character, as a new D&D person who's never like been introduced to D&D, or someone who's a very weathered D&D player. Obviously, one of the big cornerstones of this game is that it pulled a lot of people who have never played D&D before into playing D&D. So I would say that I'm very much in the camp that it is a very accessible game for you to learn how to play D&D. It has a turn-based aspect of it with the initiative actions. It has the preparation of actions for you to be able to figure everything out. And again, it has that D&D feel where you get the illusion of choices. I do think this game, like I think I've mentioned it, I do agree this game is a big gateway into the larger point. I have friends who have never played D&D before, and now we play on a game together at a table together because they played Baldur's Gate and they really enjoyed it. As for if you've played D&D before, I also think this is a good game for you. I think there are certain things in terms of the spells and specific mechanics that don't transfer as like on a one-to-one ratio between the game and the actual tabletop, but I think there's enough of there that if you know how to play the game, you'll be able to figure out what does what, and everything else pretty much is a one-to-one ratio of a good like transferability. As someone who's been playing D&D on and off for about I want to say 3 or 4 years now, give or take, I have finally started to learn how to get the hang of a spellcaster because of playing Baldur's Gate. I'm playing a warlock in this game, and I have always struggled playing a caster just because I can never get the beats of a caster correctly in battle specifically. So I was very happy to see that this was a very user-friendly interface for me, and I've kind of learned how to play a caster a little better, and I'm very excited to play casters and magic users in my future campaigns, my physical campaigns. If something you're like wanting to test something out as a player on a table, but you're not sure how to play that character and you don't really want to spend the time experimenting at the table with all your friends, Baldur Gate might be a good choice for you because it's a free roam. You're the only one playing, so if you make a mistake, if you want to respec, if you want to change things around, you for sure can do it on here. Now, final thoughts. Would I recommend this game based on the knowledge that I know so far? The answer is yes. I would recommend this game so far. It's a very immersive game. I'm very addicted to the game. I think it's just fun, and like I said, once I've gotten to understand like the different mechanics of like the triggers and which button does what and how to open what menu, the gameplay has been super smooth and I haven't had an issue. And I've, like I said, I learned how to play a caster more efficiently because of the game. So it's just a very fun concept to be able to play, and I think that my husband for sure has unleashed a monster, because I will forever and ever simp for a red tiefling barbarian named Karlach. But that is it for my thoughts so far on Baldur's Gate. Like I said, if you want to see more of these videos from me, let me know in the comments. If you want me to like do a specific video game and sit down and talk about it, let me know. But until next time, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye. Oh, and keep an eye out for my reviews on Act 2 and 3.